Hi everybody and welcome again to this channel. Now if this is your first time to the channel, we welcome you. We'd love you to subscribe to this channel, press that like button, press that bell icon so that you can be notified when there's a new video being uploaded, and also leave your comments down below. So today I'm going to be talking about I used to do that, and it's very interesting because you might have said it yourself. For example, you're driving. Especially if you drive a manual car, there's not many of them around nowadays. And when you first started to drive and you approach the hill, your instructor will say, get the handbrake on, or safety, put the car in neutral, but because you've got your handbrake on, so you don't jump forward. But as you got more experience, you realise, as your instructor later on explained to you, the brake, clutch, the brake, clutch, accelerator. I think the clutch accelerator thing, where you balance the two out, and you don't need to use the handbrake, and this took a great deal of skill. And when you mastered it, you felt fantastic, and you no longer had to use a handbrake, and you say, "Oh yes, I used to do that," but now I've moved on to something much better. And this is a fun thing about when you can reflect back and say, oh yes, I used to do that. But now you've grown and you've developed and you've found new things that has been of help to you. Now, one of the ways that you start to do this is you expose yourself to new things. New areas of creativity, new areas of just learning, things that interest you, or things that you may not have any interest at all in, but it's useful to know. And you'd be surprised what you pick up in the most unusual areas as you read and you talk to people, is that things start to, some ways, click and connect with some ways. And you go, oh, that's useful, that could become very useful. And later on, it could be a couple of months down the road or years later on, you go, oh yeah, you incorporate it, and then you go, oh yeah, I used to do it that way, but now I do it this way. Because either you've adapted something or you've found something totally new that fits your circumstances. So when you can say around and say, oh yes, I used to do that, but you no longer do. Or you've been a smoker and you are able to kick the habit. And you go around, oh yes, I used to do that. I used to spend £30 or £40 a week on cigarettes, or however much you used to spend, and you can turn around and go, oh yes, I used to do that, or I used to eat that way, but I no longer eat that way, or I used to eat that, or I used to drink that, but I do that no more. I used to do that, but I do this instead. Because when you normally say that, you're saying, I've moved on from something. I've developed myself. I have grown in my understanding of what can be done and how it can be done and how it can be adaptive to my situation or to whatever people or groups of people I'm working with. So when you can go, oh, I used to do that, yeah, and it brings a smile to your face. You go, oh yeah, I used to do that. Or I used to travel that way, yeah. It's normally in a point of you being reflective and you understand that, oh, yeah, that way it used to work. But now I found something much better. Or, again, it can work the other way around as well. You might have stopped doing something that was very useful and very beneficial to you, and all of a sudden you come into contact with something and you go, oh yes, I used to do that, and then you start to wonder and ponder, why did I ever stop doing it? And this is something a lot of people do at times. They get into a point of success, they're growing, they're really shooting forward, and they start to fall off the things that made them successful in the first place. And then they plateau and they think, and many people have come to me and I say, what's happening? I don't seem to be moving forward. I seem to be plateauing. And we would talk and then we would say, what did you used to do before? And they say, I used to do this, and that. But I don't do it. Or not as often as I used to, or I've totally stopped. And it can be for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they've moved work, moved location, they're in a relationship, and so the relationship has developed and they're not been able to make, and they've just forgotten because the relationship has taken over everything that they used to do. But as they're sat down and starting to track what's happened in their life, they realise, oh yes, I used to do that and that. Okay, and so they're able then to start to reincorporate it, but maybe not necessarily in exactly the same way, because again they have moved on, they have grown, but they're able to bring elements of it back into their life, or in fact at a much greater level, because it's required for them to reach that and start to break through and take off from that plateau into another level. So reflecting back and say, oh yes, I used to do that. Or you've come into a situation again that I've just mentioned, you have just plateaued and you can't quite understand what's happening. Just step back and sit down and think, what have you stopped doing? What were you doing before that you were really good at, that made you a success? And I think if you do that, you will realise, you go, oh yes, I used to do that. Or I used to be in contact with that person. I used to be able to bounce ideas back and forth from them on a regular basis, but they're no longer around. So you need to find a substitute for that. Or incorporate something back into your life for you to really move forward. Everybody does it. I myself have done this. I've been through it myself. So you understand where somebody is and how they can really, again, take off into greater adventures. So reflect back and say, oh yes, I used to do that. Oh, okay, so you're understanding there's that, the penny drops. You go, okay, let me see how I can put this into action again. So I hope this video has been of help to you. If you like, press that like button, share it with friends, family, and until next time, take care now. Bye bye.